light 'em up, drink 'em down, whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine little radio program and podcast known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. It is show number 205, and today we will be talking about the best cigars of 2020. And so more about that in a few minutes. Want to say hello to my good friend and co-host, Ian Barry.
Hi, Cruz.
You're sitting up really high in your chair. I feel like
I'm dangling
I feel like I'm
a little
looking
bit.
up at you there.
I meant to adjust that now a little too low.
Now you're that's the problem with these chairs. You hit that adjustment and whoosh,
You just drop to the floor.
You just drop. It's almost like a roller coaster. Well, good afternoon, my friend. Nice to see you today, and it's great to be on show number 205. As usual, our producer Adam on the wheels of steel, and we are excited to be here to talk about the best cigars of 2020. Now, we had originally scheduled Jared Himstedt from Balcones Distillery, who's been on the show before. He's a lot of fun. Man, they make some great whiskey.
Absolutely.
But Jared actually is kind of coming down with a cold. And, you know, in this era of COVID-19, if you even get a scratchy throat, you start freaking out.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he emailed us earlier in the week and said he was concerned that he might be getting sick. And so he said he would let us know. And then he emailed back again yesterday and said, I'd just rather not chance it. I think it's just a cold. At this point, I don't even want, to catch cold from somebody else. So,
right.
Because who knows? So anyway, but he insists that he's fine, but he's going to just do the safe thing, and so we'll reschedule Jared for an opportunity in the very near future. You may remember we had to reschedule him the last time he was on because he's based in Waco, and he mapped to our street where the studio is, only his phone mapped him to Dallas, and he drove to Dallas instead of driving to Houston, which is where we are. So fortunately, he actually called a little bit before the show and said, I think I may have goofed. I'm 5 hours away from you. So we rescheduled him. But he was a great guest. And like I said, there's all kinds of great things going on with their whiskeys. They're winning awards. They're collaborating with the folks at Shiner. It's a pretty up and coming, Texas distillery. So we're always excited to have him back on, and they've released some new things, I think, since we last had him. So it'll be good to have him, and I'm sure we'll have that coming up in a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, I pulled together a couple of lists that are going to comprise this Best Cigars of 2020 show for us. The 2020 Cigar Trophy winners were announced, and this is a big list of the best cigars of the year, so we'll go over that. And then just this week, Cigar Aficionado released a list of the 16 best cigars you need for the fall. So we'll take those two lists and combine them into something interesting. We should find you something interesting to smoke, no matter what kind of cigars you like, as the program goes on. Plus, we have drinking news. It will return today in all of its glory with a story that we're calling "You're Biking to Where." So I think this one may be of interest to you since you're a mountain bike guy, right?
Yes. Well, I rode bikes sometimes too, but that's when my mountain bike is broken.
Oh, is your mountain bike broken now?
Yes.
What? Oh, was this when you had the little accident on it recently?
I thought I had it fixed, but I got a few more good rides out of it, and now the rear shock is broken. I have to send it off to get it.
Well, it's a bummer because it's perfect bike riding weather right now.
And now I have to ride on the road.
Oh, well. We'll also talk a little bit about the top 5 American rye whiskeys, a new list that has been released. And there's also something new that I think you'll enjoy because it's an article about 9 new bourbons to try right now.
Yeah. Oh, we need that.
We need to do the echo on
effect.
that. Can you pull that echo up for us? We're so high tech here on Smoking and Toasting.
We'll work that out.
We'll figure it out by the time we get to the article. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff on the program today, and I think that we will have a good time doing some tastings too. Ian, on Mr. Torligig is the spirit we'll be tasting. And I think we've only done an Armagnac on the program once before.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be time to change up a little bit. Armagnac is brandy that is produced with grapes from the Armagnac region of France. And we'll be trying the Chateau De La Lacroix. I'm sure I'm not getting that quite right, but it's the reference Armagnac from France. We'll be trying that today. And some great beers, or at least we hope they're great. Heater Allen Brewing out of McMinnville, Oregon, has released their Oktoberfest lager, which they called Bobtoberfest.
Bobtoberfest.
Nice. So we'll be trying that. We had our Oktoberfest blind taste test last week.
It was enlightening.
Yes, it was, and very tasty.
Yes.
Also, from the folks at Rare Barrel in Berkeley, California, we'll be trying their Pop Tart. It's not P-O-P-T-A-R-T. It's P-O-P'-T and then the word art.
I've brought that before.
Art. You brought Popped Art before?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? The big bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tasted it on the show.
Yeah.
Did we like it?
Oh, yeah.
Good, because we're going to taste it again today.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
All right, cool. Well, it was an accidental repeat, but it's been a while,
Look,
right?
we are over 200 shows into this.
Yeah, it's hard to remember sometimes. when
First
we've
off,
tasted
it is a little
something
hard to remember. And second off, you know what? It's okay if we repeat a few things. For if we did stuff within the first 50 shows,
Yeah.
nobody remembers that.
Well, I don't remember.
I don't
this
remember
one.
that.
I was all excited when I saw the bottle. I was like, "Oh, this might be great." So we'll taste that, as well as an Imperial milk stout from Alesong Brewing called Rhino Suit. It's an
Rhino Suit?
Rhino Suit. It's an
Nice.
Imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels. Alesong out of Eugene, Oregon, a very highly lauded and one of the hot breweries as it goes. So
It's so hot right now.
yeah, so it should be an interesting. Program. I am I was almost late to the show. We were a couple minutes late getting started because there was some sort of traffic tie-up with some accident or something. So I'm really just catching my breath. Maybe you can start us off by telling me about something interesting you've had a chance to smoke
all
this
about
week.
something interesting that I've had a chance to smoke this week.
Wonderful.
Went by the Casa earlier today.
I love those guys over there.
That's
They're-
so fun.
They're just so cool.
Yep. Ken was there and Steve, and said hi to the guys. Picked up a couple cigars. And one of them I picked up is the Aging Room Bin Number 2.
Bin number 2. I like the aging room. I mean, I like what they do.
I like Aging Room anyway. And then Bin Number 1 I reviewed. Was it early this year?
I think it was, several months
And
back.
it was good. But
yeah.
that one was released, I think, in 2014. This one was released last year.
Okay.
And I hadn't had it. So I picked it up. Looked interesting. It's the size is called B minor.
Nice.
Yes. And it's a 5x52, so not a real big cigar. Smaller than what I generally pick up.
Yeah, you
so-
usually get the bigger ones.
Yeah. So 100% Nicaraguan tobacco.
Okay.
So, I was expecting the
usual pepper thing.
blast of pepper at the beginning, but we'll get to that in a minute. The appearance, rich, dark brown wrapper, 2 bands and a footer. Medium firmness overall. No real soft spots, no harder spots or anything like that. Looked real solid. A little bit of veins on it, and it looked good. Felt good. The pre-light sniff, very earthy, hints of mocha, coffee, fresh cut lumber, some sweet spices is what I got on the nose. Moving on to the pre-light draw, I used a clip, near effortless draw, sweet spices and coffee, pepper, chocolate, and woodiness, like all right there, just before I even lit it. And that was a wonderful, wonderful thing. I could have sat there and just not lit it for a while and
I know.
enjoyed it.
I love when you get one of those
Yeah.
that are really pleasant before you even light.
The initial light, blast of cedar and pepper. Because
Nice.
you expect that from a
Right.
Nicaraguan cigar. But lots of cedar on that initial light. Big time wood and pepper on that. Sweet coffee and tangy spices. Big silky smoke right off the bat fills the palate. First third of this, pepper is smooth and creamy. It wasn't a real harsh pepper, not a super spicy pepper kind of thing. Smooth and creamy, followed by tangy sweetness with wood. Rich earth and coffee notes kind of swirl around. Slightly uneven burn, solid ash.
Nice.
All right, second third of this. The burn is slightly uneven from time to time and just corrects itself. I never corrected it once. I just kind of watched it burn a little uneven here and then burn a little uneven. It didn't matter. It didn't change anything about the smoke. Cedar and Pepper takes center. Earth Cedar and Pepper takes center stage in the second act on this cigar. Sweet, creamy smoke delivers more coffee and mocha in the background. The retrohale was spicy with a touch of sweetness. The retrohale on the cigar was outstanding. I really enjoyed that. Slightly uneven burn, solid ash. The last third of the cigar, pepper becomes more present in the back of the palate, and in the retrohale, cedar and oaky notes dominate the front of the palate, and coffee with a slight chicory kind of spice developed.
Really?
In there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I was trying to place it. I was like, what is that? Because it's like coffee with a spice, and it's that chicory almost kind of spice.
That's a very unmistakable.
Specific. Yeah, right. It's a very specific flavor. I think I picked up on that in one cigar before, kind of a little bit of that chicory flavor. Tangy sweetness in the background and on the lips, mostly even burn on the last bit of this, solid ash. Price to quality, this is a $13.50 cigar, and it's only 5 inches long.
Yeah.
By 52.
That's
kind of a small cigar.
That's an uphill battle right there.
Surprisingly long burn. I got an hour and 20 minutes out of this thing.
Well, see, that's not bad.
Out of a 5-inch cigar, I got an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
That's, I think, makes up for the size.
And you were smoking it the whole time, right?
Solid. Yes, I smoked it the whole time. Solid 5 on the price to quality. I enjoyed the flavors a whole lot. And even though at first I was kind of hemming and hawing about it because of the price, it lasted way longer than it lasted a full 40 minutes longer than I thought that cigar size would have.
That makes it worth it.
And it made it worth it to me. So I suggest very much trying that cigar.
Cool.
And before you get into yours, I have here a present for you.
Oh, look at you. It was, in fact, my birthday this last week.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cruz. Happy birthday to you.
This is a great cigar. Very nice. I like the ukulele addition to the show. And Ian called me and left a message on my phone for my birthday and sang happy birthday to me, but I was a little disappointed that he didn't include the ukulele.
I think I was driving.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it worked out great because I got the ukulele as well.
I very specifically don't practice these tunes because I want there to be a certain amount of authenticity.
Yeah, a little organicness to it.
Yes.
I like that. Well, this is a wonderful cigar, and I will enjoy it. This is the 80th year 1926 series Padron. And look, it's just even in the package, it just looks absolutely delicious. Well, thank you. Yes, it was my birthday this week, and I do want to brag a little bit because you know, Ian, I can be very jealous of you. You know, you're the guy that has the wireless mic. You're the guy that has some of the, the cool pipe racks and pipe stands and like a huge collection of pipes. One thing I've been jealous of for a while was your pipe lighter. Because every time I smoke a pipe, I'm taking the lighter and like turning it upside down and trying to light, and it just doesn't work as well.
Sometimes you light your thumbnail on fire.
So look what my wife got me for my birthday. There it is.
The classic Zippo pipe lighter.
And there it is, the pipe lighter. I haven't even used it yet, but it's got that. And of course, for those who haven't seen one of these before, you take it and you lay it on top of the bowl of the pipe and light it, and then you're able to puff through the pipe. And it draws the flame down to the tobacco and lights it, and I'm so excited. That's
less damage, less burning to the top rim of your pipe as well. Right.
And I'm very, very excited about starting to use this. And it is going to be pipe season here very soon because the temperature is finally starting to cool off.
Oh, man, the weather the last few days has been amazing.
Maybe we can do another pipe show over at the New Potato. That's where we did the last one.
I'm sure I can talk him
into
it.
And that was a lot of fun. I think we could still distance ourselves far enough if it's just you and me and smoke us some pipes.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Crazy enough, the pipe shows, we do about one a year. The pipe shows always get huge listening. The numbers always spike up on the pipe shows. I don't know if there's a secret group of pipe lovers out there that, because it would be my guess that cigars are much more popular than pipes. I know I smoke a lot more cigars than pipes.
Well, I just wonder
myself,
if pipe smokers in general are starving for something to
Yeah,
watch.
looking for someone else who enjoys a pipe
Right.
from time to time. Yeah. Well, Ian is the best I've ever met with pipe etiquette, so he'll go over that for us again when we do the pipe show. And
The
maybe
contemplative stare is definitely is
Oh,
something
yeah.
you got to work on.
It's a thing. There's no question about it. Well, in addition to my lovely Zippo pipe lighter, I received a very nice gift from Adam, our producer. He gave me a nice little bag with several cigars in it, and nestled in the little group of cigars, I became very excited when I spotted an EP Carrillo, Perez Carrillo Pledge. It's the brand new EP Carrillo. I had not had one of these yet. This is the one that Ernesto Perez Carrillo assigned some of the bands on the inside.
Yes.
And if you take the band off and find one with his signature, you can win a free humidor. So I was very excited about that too, you know? So I took this baby and decided to smoke it for this week's show, mostly because I just couldn't wait to try it. I was so excited. So this particular cigar is the EP Carrillo, Perez Carrillo Pledge Sojourn. It's called the Sojourn. It's a Toro size. It is 6x52, and it's a gorgeous box-pressed dark brown cigar. And it's got an interesting combination of tobacco. The wrapper is a Connecticut Havana seed wrapper grown in Massachusetts, which, you know, you get a lot of Connecticut seed grown in Connecticut, but not as much grown in Massachusetts. So that's a little different. In fact, I don't even know where I lived in Massachusetts for a while. I have no idea where the tobacco farms are,
Right.
you know? But anyway, that's the wrapper. The binder's from Ecuador, and the filler's Nicaraguan. So a real interesting blend of tobaccos. Pre-light on the cigar had a peppery, kind of a rye note to it. You know the difference if you smell a whiskey and then smell a rye whiskey?
Yeah.
That additional scent, that spiciness of the rye kind of came through, and a nice aroma of earth as well. I used a punch and I lit it up. I got an immediate blast of pepper, which didn't surprise me, but I also got some harshness, which did. In fact, it was kind of the last thing I was expecting from this cigar was a bit of a harsh flavor. Almost immediately, it developed a pretty severe burn problem, and you'll see an example of that in the picture that comes in here. And I let it go for a few more puffs, but I decided I was going to have to tend it because there was no way that was going to straighten itself out. Yeah. So the harsh flavor, as it was burning crooked like this, and I'm assuming the two are related, the harsh flavor was kind of overpowering everything else. And honestly, I was afraid I was going to wind up being really disappointed in the cigar if I didn't do something to try to get it on track. So I used a torch to even out the burn, and it seemed to work. The harsh flavor kind of settled down. I didn't really have any more burn problems once I corrected it. It wasn't, razor straight, but it burned pretty well past that one initial problem, and the harsh flavor settled down. The pepper note became a lot more palatable, not so harsh, and other flavors started to emerge from the cigar. I picked up a slight note of anise or anise, however you say that word. It's that licorice flavored spice, along with and by the way, too much of that would have put me off, but just a little was kind of nice in the mix. It also had dark chocolate and a bit of a nuttiness that became really pleasant. Second third of the cigar was much better than the first. The harshness had really gone away. The flavors were more subtle and complex, and the nuttiness got a little more pronounced in the cigar. The chocolate kind of subsided a little bit around the halfway point, but the earthy flavors were a little more prevalent. By the final third, my feelings about the cigar had completely turned around. I went from being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be disappointed by this new EP Carrillo cigar, to thinking that it was absolutely fantastic. The nuttiness became a little more pronounced, as I said, and there was no more evidence of the harshness I got at first. Black pepper notes were leaving this wonderful tang on my tongue and my palate. Unfortunately, I did not find Ernesto Perez Carrillo's signature on the inside of the large band. And I think I have a photo of the blank inside of the band once I took it off. So I didn't win a humidor.
You didn't get the golden ticket.
Maybe I will on the next one, though, because I'm definitely going to try another one of these. I'm convinced this had to be just one of those one-off things that it burned like that and was harsh. So I'm guessing this isn't going to happen again, and hoping so, because apart from that, I absolutely loved this cigar. I wound up smoking the Pledge all the way down to the nub. The chocolate notes did come back. There was a bit of a pleasant salty flavor present in the last third. It was medium-bodied. Flavors were full, but the strength of it was medium. And the Pledge Sojourn is a $12 cigar. I wound up really enjoying it. I would have given this a 6 if it hadn't had the burn issues at the beginning. Even with those, I'm going to give it a 5 on a price to quality scale. And just in case you're new to that, a 5 is essentially a score that means you got exactly what you paid for in the cigar. In this case, it was a gift. I didn't pay for it. But if I had paid the $12, I'd have still been happy with my price.
Yeah.
That's how good the cigar was once it got past the initial thing. Like I said, if I smoke another one of these and don't run into that harshness and the burn issue in the first third, I would easily rate it a 6. And if you're above a 5 on the price to quality scale, that means you feel like you got a little more than you paid for.
That's hard to do at $12.
Right, that's absolutely right. If this had been a $5 cigar, I wouldn't have even worried so much about the harshness and burn as long as it corrected itself. It put me off a little at 12, but you know what? I'll take it. It was still a very enjoyable experience by the time I was done, and I did smoke it all the way down.
I went down to the Galveston Island Cigar Lounge last week and hung out with Mr. Alan Denny.
Our buddy
and
Alan?
I got to try one of those.
I
didn't have any of the issues, and I
had a feeling it was
all
isolated.
the enjoyment.
Yeah, it
So
was good.
out of 2 that we've experienced, only 1 has had slight issues. So we're at least at 50%
All right,
right now.
that's
But
fair
I
enough.
enjoyed mine tremendously.
And I will be smoking another one,
Yeah.
so I will let you know. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back in just a moment with our first tasting of the day. Our program is called Smoking and Toasting, and we are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. It's on the internet. It's a great place to get really cool shirts for cigar lovers. And this just came into me via text right before the show. So I'll maybe actually, Ian, I think if you show it to the camera, it'll work a little better. That's my good buddy Dave Murphy, who is in Florida, who is a cigar fan. In fact, we had Dave join us on the show
Yeah, he was
once
on the show.
when he was visiting, and there he is wearing the "You Can't Hurry Up and Smoke a Cigar" shirt. I didn't know he was buying a shirt from the site, so I had no idea which one he would pick. And here, look what he picked. He picked your favorite.
That's awesome.
That's
it's
the
only
Ian.
my favorite because,
Because you came up with the
I
same,
came up with that line.
as I think we've pointed out. So anyway, go online and check them out. They are a sponsor of the show, and we appreciate what they do, and we appreciate their shirts. And you should get one. New designs coming soon to mycigarshirts.com because cigars. And we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for joining us for show number 205. Thanks for the cigar. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It is the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com, online for cigar fans at mycigarshirts.com because cigars.
Because cigars.
Ian, a lot of people living here in the state of Texas, you don't normally see people drinking Perrier.
Not so much.
Sometimes you'll see them with those LaCroix, fizzy waters, but the big winner here is Topo Chico.
I had one earlier, actually.
And they're wonderful. They're great cold, and I have been able to incorporate Topo Chico into a number of different cocktails.
Oh yeah,
it really is great to have
you
that.
had the twist of grapefruit one?
Oh yes, it's really
super good. Yeah,
it's really good. So what's interesting about Topo Chico is it is going to mark the Coca-Cola company that they make Topo Chico or they own it. It is going to mark their first venture as a company into the world of alcoholic beverages. There is a hard Topo Chico scheduled to come out that Coca-Cola is producing in coordination with Molson Coors that will be hitting the market here later this year. Topo Chico Hard Seltzer.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say about it either. I thought I'd pass it along because the thing that makes it such a big deal is that the Coca-Cola company has, to best of my knowledge, never released any kind of alcoholic beverage before. Sure, there's people using their products in cocktails or Jack and Coke or whatever you're having, but I don't know.
I was in Specs for a minute last night, and I was in the beer section, which is, there's a cold beer section there too, and I was standing there looking at beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear, and this is, I want you to picture your absolute typical hard seltzer drinking chick, White Claw.
Okay, yeah, sure, White Claw.
There were two of them.
Okay.
And a guy that obviously went to the same hair salon.
Okay.
And that's okay. I'm just painting a picture here.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
I'm not like trying to diss on them.
You're not being critical.
But they looked as stereotypical White Claw drinking as could possibly be, and they were standing there complaining amongst themselves at Specs, which has more selection of pretty much everything.
Right. Seltzers, beers,
that
wines,
they didn't have some obscure White Claw flavor that they could get at some place.
I want White Claw boysenberry.
Yes, and they had the whole whiny voice thing going on, and I was like, wow.
That's a pretty specialized taste right there.
That is a special. We haven't done our hard seltzer
blind taste test. I think we should probably schedule
I think that needs to come up.
Yeah.
And we need to get someone that really enjoys them.
We should get someone that really enjoys them, and we should get somebody that's probably a total spirit snob who wouldn't ever drink hard seltzer on their own. I'm wondering about our buddy Chris Hart.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're talking about Chris.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows? Maybe he does like hard seltzer. I don't know. But I have a feeling with him being a whiskey expert that his taste runs a little bit more
but I also
robust.
feel like someone like Mark Burrell would be a whole lot of fun doing that.
Oh, that's so. Maybe we should. All right, so we're gonna have to set that up. That would be a lot of fun.
Or Dan Crowell, someone with really refined.
Oh, Dan Crowell, who has gone into
taste,
more intense detail about flavors that he's getting out of spirits on this show than anyone.
Yes.
He's like a professor of the palate.
The professor of flavor.
Yeah. So he's all right. So I'll work on putting that together. Coca-Cola, by the way, bought the Topo Chico brand in 2017. From Arca Continental out of Latin America. For Molson Coors, this launch will strengthen their portfolio of lower alcohol spirits, including hard seltzers. They will roll it out. I was wrong. It's not coming later this year. They'll roll it out in the first half of 2021, and it will actually be Molson Coors' third hard seltzer to hit the shelves. It will compete with White Claw and the other ones that come out from, Anheuser-Busch and stuff. Bud Light hard seltzer, which doesn't that sound like a terrible idea? Why would you want a seltzer to taste like a beer? Just have a beer.
Isn't that kind of what it is?
Well, not really. It's more like a fizzy water, but it's got a little edge to it, I don't know.
No, I'm talking about, isn't that what Bud Light is?
Oh, yeah, fizzy water, yes.
It's like a fizzy. It's like what you
You're right.
get.
Maybe it makes more sense
than I'm
thinking.
It's like what you get if you filled your ice trays full of beer and then put a popsicle stick in it and then let them all melt together.
That's such a great visual. That is such a great visual. I like it. Let's get started with a little beer tasting. Ian, I am thirsty. Last week's show featured, what do we have, 10 Oktoberfest beers? 10
Oktoberfest
and,
beers.
And we tasted them blind, picked our favorites. This one, which I was enjoying as a show beer, did really well for both of us. This was the Galveston Island Brewing Oktoberfest.
That was so
and
good.
We've had some of Galveston Island Brewing's beers on the show before. I think this is the first one we've really raved about. We loved this. So it'll be interesting to compare this.
I need to bring maybe
the Bobtoberfest.
Maybe next week. I have one of their coffee reserves.
Ooh.
At the house that I was kind of saving for the show, and then I forgot about it, but I need to bring that too.
Let's talk about that.
So
That'd
this
be
is Bobtoberfest. It literally says Bob in giant letters,
Yes.
and then underneath it says Bobtoberfest.
It's from Heater Allen
Oktoberfest.
Brewing in McMinnville, Oregon. We have 2 Oregon beers on the show today. And I don't really know much of anything about it, Ian, other than the fact that it's a lager and
Man, there
it's
are a
an
lot of
Oktoberfest.
M's and N's and L's in the name of that place.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is up there in Oregon. But yeah,
At Heater Allen, well, you know what? I'll read that in a minute. Let's try the beer.
I like your
does that sound?
sequencing here. That
I'm going to
works
do
for
what
me.
I can here.
Not bad. All right, yeah. So I thought it'd be interesting to try an Oktoberfest just after we had Oktoberfest last week, and still kind of had a bit of the memory of those tastes, from last week. Because I tell you what.
I know what you're doing. You're trying to take the edge off of all the pumpkin beers that we're going to have to try.
Oh, yeah.
In the
Well,
future.
I think we're going to have to take the pumpkin beers one at a time. I don't think we're going to do a blind taste test again. I don't know if I can do a whole show on pumpkin beer. I mean, I like the occasional pumpkin beer. Don't get me wrong.
It's fun to share.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to share. And then there was that one exceptional one that tasted like the pumpkin pie crust. That was so good.
Yes.
Let's see. At Heater Allen, we take no shortcuts in our beer, from using the best ingredients to give our beers extended lagering to giving our beers extended lagering time. We believe you can taste the difference. All right, we're gonna put that to the test.
We'll be interested to see what you think.
There's not a lot of nose on this.
The little bit of nose you get
Slight
is a
malty.
fairly standard lager sort of vibe. And I will say that's what I really get is it's just a really kind of tasty lager to me. It's got a little bit of baking spice.
Yeah, it's like a maltier lager. Mm-hmm. It's very light overall.
Very easy drinking.
Very easy to drink. It says 5.6 by volume. You don't pick up on any of that. Bobtoberfest is a tribute to owner Rick. Bobtoberfest is a tribute to owner Rick's late brother, Bob, who was a great brewer himself. This seasonal favorite is a traditional Oktoberfest or Marzen, made with a combination of Vienna and Munich malts and hopped with a healthy dose of spalt. Yeah, this is hoppier than I would expect.
It is.
It's good.
I like it. I'm glad that it's really cold. I think this is one that I would like much better ice cold than if it were warmed up a little bit toward room temperature.
I'm interested to see what it does when it's warmer. Because I bet the malt flavors are going to come out more. Right now, I get a lot of that hop finish,
the hops,
a lot of bitter hop finish. Mm-hmm. And it's not a lot of it. It's just a lot compared to what you'd expect out of the...
Are you familiar with Heater Allen? Had you heard
Never
of this
heard of
brewery
it.
before? Yeah, this was my first time to try something from them
First
as
time
well.
in celebrating the life of Bob Allen, brother, teacher, brewer, and friend, it says.
Well, I like the
That's
the
pretty nice.
sentiment behind
yeah,
the
I like
can.
that too.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
It's a pretty cool way to commemorate him with his own Oktoberfest. I'm going to tell you, I like it. Now, if we were tasting this in the midst of last week's Oktoberfest blind tasting, I think I'd put it right around the middle of the pack for me. It wouldn't have made my favorite list probably at the end, but it is really enjoyable, and it's the type of thing that if you were at the brewery and this were coming right out of the tap, I bet that's really good.
It's probably good.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest, by the way, just to clarify things, is actually a lager.
Mm-hmm.
But it's usually a lager with bigger flavors and some spicy.
This doesn't have as much of that sort of German lager Marzen style flavor to it as I was expecting.
It doesn't have that super traditional like the Shiner one did.
Right.
Remember the Shiner?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
The
first
Shiner
thing
was
we did was
delicious.
like, wow, that is
an Oktoberfest.
that is as German as a beer gets right there.
Well, I think they kind of know how to do that German brewing
right.
thing there. In
I'm actually
Spetzel Brewery.
I enjoy it for what it is. I poured myself a little bit more. I actually want to taste it when it's a little warmer and see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you hang on to that, and we'll try it again. I'll pour a little bit and let it warm. We'll try it in the next segment. We're also going to be trying or retrying, as Ian has pointed out to me, the Rare Barrel Popped Art. It's a red sour beer aged in oak barrels from Rare Barrel Brewing in Berkeley, California. And I'm really excited about this one because I don't think I remember it. And I've been looking at this bottle in my little beer closet.
So
for
the
a
show
while.
that we had that on, I remember it specifically. The show that we had that on, we had my friend Robert on,
Okay.
or DJ, and he was, if you remember, he was the guy that was supposed to be on like the year prior and then never showed up.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, he brought some beers from out from California and on the way, and that was one of the ones that he brought.
And
But
that
we had a
makes sense.
whole bunch of different beers that day too. So
Yeah, maybe that's why I don't remember it as distinctly. If we
That may
had,
have something
we had
to do with
lots of beers, or if I'd had lots of beers before I tried the Pop-Tart. But we'll try it next on the show. Drinking news is still on the way. You're biking to where? And we'll also get into our list of the best cigars of 2020. We have a couple of lists to cover off for you. So we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It is show number 205. We are talking about the best cigars of 2020 today, and we'll get into that in just a moment. We're brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great place to shop for yourself and other cigar fans on the web. Holidays are coming up. You can support Smoking and Toasting by supporting our sponsor, MyCigarShirts.com.
because cigars.
Ian, we don't deal as much with wine on this show as we do with other spirits, although today we'll be trying an Armagnac, which is a grape-based spirit. But I'm really becoming concerned.
It's because there's no whining in cigar smoking.
I guess that's right. Well, there's something that's really concerning me, though, about one of the major wine-producing regions in the world, and that's that it's on fire. Northern California, wine country, is in there. It's tough up there right now. The area has already had major evacuations. The Glass Fire is the name of the fire that's affecting the wine producing region up near Napa, and in near St. Helena, about 15 miles north of Napa, one winery, Chateau Boswell, has already burned.
Oh.
Now think about this as, obviously you feel for the people there who are being forced out of their homes, for the people that their winery is, that's their life's work.
Yeah.
This is everything.
And
that
wineries,
they do.
you can't pop it up and be operating.
Right. You can't just rebuild after the fire and be operational. But also think about California wines are a big deal everywhere.
Yeah.
They're a huge part of the wines that are sold. Imagine what this is going to do to wine prices and wine availability for your favorite California Reds and all the other wine that comes out of the Napa Valley region. And, man, I got to tell you, it's like California is the wheels on the dumpster fire of 2020. They are just taking it harder than any other state, man. It's tough. I don't know. I don't even know what to say except our hearts go out to them, and we hope they can get those things under control. And for God's sake, if you're doing a gender reveal party, don't set crap on fire. That's how one of the major fires started.
Oh.
Was a gender reveal party where they set off fireworks in either pink or blue, to reveal the baby's, gender. And those fireworks started one of these major fires that burns out of control. Anyway, our best thoughts go out to our wine friends in Napa Valley, and we sure enjoy drinking what you guys produce. So I hope you can weather through it. At least most of the wineries up there. Ian, we are excited to get into our list of the best cigars of 2020. The cigar trophy winners have been announced through an article in Cigar Journal. But before we do that bottle looks so beautiful on Mr. Torligig, the Rare Barrel popped art. And I'm so interested to see if tasting it will jog my memory of having had it before.
Well, so the labels are always a little different. I wonder if it's a little different from year to year, like
Was it one we had before in a bomber? Was it a big one like that?
Yeah,
it was.
But
okay.
it had a little bunny on the front, I think.
Do you need a bottle opener, sir?
I might even have. No, I think I'm. Oh, there's one.
That's the one you gave me from last time.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Fortunately, Adam had one in hand, and we are about to drink.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, can you smell it as soon as you opened it?
It's amazing already.
Well, that's good. It's so interesting that both of us will say that sours are not our favorite kind of beers, and we've got friends that don't like sours at all. And yet
I love sours.
Every time we have a sour on the show, we seem to absolutely enjoy it. It's I like them too.
I love sours. They're super safe at my house. My wife won't drink
Your
them.
wife won't drink them, yeah. And
She's like, it was funny because she loves sour candy.
you would think this would appeal
You'd
to her.
figure
then.
that there'd be some kind of correlation there, but apparently not. She's not much for sour beers.
Oh, this has got a
is-
wonderful
The
nose, doesn't
nose
it?
is huge on this.
Wow. All right,
It's like
so
blueberry, and what else am I getting?
let
Cherry
me see what it
and-
says. It says red sour beer aged in oak barrels with blueberries, boysenberries, which was what I imagined that the seltzer people might be looking for. Blueberries, boysenberries, and tart cherries. It's 8.5%, and they say on here that Popped Art is blended red sour beer aged in oak barrels with a crazy amount of fruit. Fermented with a mixed culture, Popped Art mixes notes of cherry pie filling, ripe blueberries, and jammy boysenberries with hints of marmalade and lemon
There
preserve.
is a jam, a very like jam/preserves flavor that threads throughout this, and I have to tell you, this is so good. Like, but the oak finish and the tart,
Ooh.
I
Oh,
mean-
it's wonderful.
yeah.
It kind of makes your the area
Like,
below your ears
I
kind
want
of
this with rhbarb pie.
Yeah,
Can
and I
you
don't even like
imagine?
rhubarb pie, but I would have this with rhubarb pie.
Rhubarb pie.
No, it's got a distinct booziness to it too, which is not always the case with the sour.
Yeah, you definitely know you're drinking something that has some alcohol in it. Mm-hmm. On the finish, like when you swallow, it has that
That's when you really get the
that
flavor.
dry wine
Mm-hmm.
kind of finish in your breath there.
I was checking. I know I said earlier, but it's 8.5% is the ABV on this, so it's pretty boozy.
So the blueberry stands out to me like
Mm-hmm.
big time. The blueberry and that pie crust.
What's interesting is on the front, it has a sort of almost a carbonated, sort of a sweet candy vibe. Mm-hmm. But
That's that
once,
jamminess to
But
it.
once you swallow, here comes the booze.
Mm-hmm.
You get that really, okay, this was fermented. It's got that oak barrel sort of vibe to it that really kind of sends it over the top.
And the mouthfeel on this, sparkling wine.
Yes, and it very much is like a wine the way that it finishes.
It's not super carbonated like a champagne style thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty highly carbonated, but it's not over the top carbonated. But it's a very sparkling wine kind of finish.
Well, I can tell you that if you are able to get your hands on one of these, this is one to open up and share when you've got friends over.
Oh man,
This is an at the end of the meal, hey everybody, we're going to try something special kind of a beer.
do yourself a favor, make rhubarb pie with it.
Yeah, I would actually eat that. And like I said, I'm not a rhubarb pie guy, but that's good. Popped Art.
Popped
Now,
Art is a blended red sour. You already read this, didn't
Yeah.
you?
But you know what's interesting to me about this is I was expecting maybe a little more of a sweeter, almost like a berry Pop-Tart experience, and it really doesn't come across that way to me at all. So I'm a little surprised at the name, but the way they hyphenate it and make it Popped Art does make a little more sense. I guess there's a hint of that Pop-Tart
well, it's
vibe.
got a little of that crust.
Right.
That pie crust
Now
in
that
there.
now that I said that,
And
I'm thinking
it's a weird
I'm wrong.
place for it because, like, if you separate the way it hits my palate, it hits the very outside of the tongue on the very last part of the experience, and then it's almost swept away a little bit by the dryness, the oak dryness,
Right, and that booziness on the
and
end.
the booziness of the time. But then, if you let it sit for a little while and don't take another sip, it comes back and just lingers around the outside of the palate, and that's really, really nice.
I'm digging it. In fact, this is really one of those. I hope this doesn't sound too corny, but this is one of those beers that you want to open up and share, and everybody just start telling stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this is one of those communal type of things. It's really good. Pop-Tart from the folks at Rare Barrel Brewing
Outstanding.
in Berkeley, California. Well, Ian, every year there are a lot of different cigar awards and best of lists that are put together. Cigar Aficionado does their list. I should have brought it in for today's show. I actually have the Cigar Snob list of the that was in the last
about that one. I need
magazine
to
of
subscribe to
2020.
that.
I enjoy that magazine.
Yeah.
But I've got their list of their best cigars for 2020. But there's only one list that I know of, or at least that I know of, where the winners are decided by consumers as opposed to like a panel of judges or tasters or the editors of a magazine or a website. The winners of the coveted public awards were announced in the presence of the biggest names of the industry recently for what is called the 2020 Cigar Trophy Awards. To determine the shortlist, readers were asked to nominate their top candidates in the categories Best Brand, Best Cigar, Best Value, Best Accessory, and Best Lounge, and then to determine the winner from the top 5. They say they were pleased that the public awards are enjoying unwavering growth and popularity with cigar smokers from all over the world. So, here you go with Best Brand for 2020. There's actually 4 categories. Best Brand Cuba 2020 went to Partagas. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, a real Cuban Partagas is a thing of wonder. Mm-hmm. And I would say that Partagas, I'm not super knowledgeable on Cubans, but I think Partagas has done a better job of maintaining their quality over time. You know, a Cuban Cohiba can be a great thing too, but I've had some that were just okay. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think Partagas, when I've had a Cuban Partagas, and it's been a real one. You gave me a Serie D not that long ago, I remember, and it's just an exceptional cigar. It's just really good. Best Brand Dominican Republic for 2020. The award went to the Arturo Fuente Don Carlos line.
Oh, yeah.
That brand, and that is a tough one to argue with. It really is. Best Brand Honduras went to the Camacho Corojo. That line, that brand, for 2020. And the best brand Nicaragua, the award went to the Oliva Serie V.
That's such a great
Which is a really, really great cigar. Now, I'm not completely sure how that winds up being a brand rather than a specific cigar. But there's a whole other category for best cigar. Maybe it's like, Artist of the Year and Entertainer of the Year. I don't know.
I guess maybe brand would be, because a lot of the companies, I think they look at it like this. We are the Oliva Cigar Company, and one of our brands is Serie V, and one of our brands is Serie G, and one of our brands is...
Right. I suppose that's right. Still, it kind of seems like splitting the hairs between, Song of the Year and Single of the Year or something.
Right.
It's like, okay. It seems like you just wanted to give out another award, and that's fine. Best Cigar 2020 for Cuba. It was the Cohiba Behique BHK 52. I have not ever had one of those.
Nope.
I have had the Cigars International inspired by the Cohiba Behique, and it's actually pretty good for an El Cheapo cigar. But it's no way for me to judge that one, so I'll have to take their word for that one. Best Cigar Dominican Republic 2020. Went to the Davidoff Grand Cru Toro. And the Grand Cru, I'm not a big fan of Davidoff because most of their cigars are a lot lighter than what I like.
Yeah.
But this Grand Cru, that's an exceptional smoke and expensive too.
And expensive.
Yep. Best Cigar Honduras for 2020 went to the Rocky Patel No. 6 Robusto.
That's a good cigar.
I mentioned that Adam gave me cigars for my birthday. Not only was that EP Carrillo a cigar in there, but there's also a Rocky No. 6. It's sitting in my humidor.
Oh, yeah. I reviewed that one
it's
recently,
actually
too.
calling to me right now. I can kind of hear it softly in the background.
Is that what I was hearing back there?
Yeah. That's No. 6. That's No. 6. Yeah, it's calling me.
Imagine you waking up in the night with the smell on your nostrils. And
yeah, it's just wafting over. Yeah, I'll sleepwalk to the humidor and go out to the balcony and smoke a cigar in my sleep. That's what I think I'll do. Best Cigar Nicaragua 2020, the Perdomo ESV Imperial Sun-Grown Box Pressed. Have you had the ESV?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And Best Cigar Other Countries went to the Toscano Antico from Italy.
Don't know that.
I don't know that one either. I don't smoke a lot of Italian cigars, so I haven't. Best Cigar Lounge went to Soho Cigar Bar in New York City. Of course, it's been closed, I think, for a big chunk of 2020, but still, it's a pretty cool place. Charity and Community. Our friends at Cigars for Warriors took the award.
Nice.
Congratulations. Best Cigar Accessory 2020. And I couldn't agree with this more. The Boveda Humidity Control Packs.
Oh, those are
that is
amazing.
totally the greatest cigar accessory out there. Outstanding Art 2020. It just says here, Cigar Package Design. I don't know what that means. Lifetime Achievement went to Robert G. Levin. And the Best Value Cigars for 2020. Best Dominican Republic, Value Cigar, the La Aurora Cameroon 1903. That is a very nice cigar and not too expensive. I'm not familiar with the Honduran winner. It's the Villa Zamorano. Are you familiar with Villa Zamorano? I will have to look for that. And the Best Value Nicaragua was the Padron Classic Series. I'll take issue with that, but you kind of understand why it won. It's probably one of the better known, lesser expensive Nicaraguan cigars.
On a side note, I just went back and revisited our first beer, which was the
The Bobtoberfest.
Bobtoberfest. And now that it's much warmer, doesn't stand up so well.
I liked it better cold.
Yep.
I liked it better cold. Of course, you have to think, though, you're having it after you've had the sour on your palate. That could be affecting you as well. You want to try a palate cleanse and do it one more time?
That's a Shiner beer palate cleanse, by the way.
Okay, and that's pretty
usually
good.
pretty effective.
That's a pretty good palate cleanse. Yeah, for sure.
It did make a difference, but I don't know that it's that much better. There's a hopness to this
I liked it cold the
that
best.
lingers. It's a hop resiny bitterness at the end of an Oktoberfest, which is to me a little strange. And if you're more of a hophead than me, that might appeal to you.
You mentioned, by the way, Shiner as a palate cleanser. I will tell you that as someone who loves IPAs but also loves cigars, and they don't always mix, the Shiner is a great palate. The Shiner Bock is a great palate cleanser. If you've just had a kind of a hoppy IPA, you're wanting a cigar, have a Shiner first. It will do the trick and reorient your palate in a way that you'll be able to.
I have never met a
really
cigar that
enjoy
doesn't
it.
go with a Shiner.
Nor have I. It's one of the most cigar-friendly beers
Yeah.
I've ever had. All right, we are going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. We have more cigars to tell you about because Cigar Aficionado has released their list of 16 cigars that you should really be smoking this fall. So we'll get to that. That's some of their best of 2020. And in our next segment, it's Spirit Time, a little Armagnac. This will change your palate in a completely different way. And we're looking forward to that as we continue with Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. So nice to have you guys on board for show number 205. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we're brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. The coolest shirts for cigar fans, all starting under $20, by the way. Grab them for yourself or for anyone you know that loves cigars at MyCigarShirts.com because cigars, yes. I was taking a look at the comments on our Facebook live stream. Kevin Berry checked in to wish me a happy birthday, which was nice. And then he also asked, Uncle Ian has a contemplative stare?
Yes, it's just like your dad's contemplative stare, except for 1/3 less confusion and anger.
Okay, well there you go. You came up with that quick, so clearly this is something you've thought about before. Clearly, it's something you've thought about before. So, Ian, we have another great list here. This is Cigar Aficionado. I think they just love lists, and so it makes our job easy.
Lists
we just
sell.
We just go on with their list. They say summer brought many memories, from socially distant barbecues to intimate moments with family and everything in between. They say while we made the best of a novel situation, certain things remain true. One of those was the enjoyment of a handmade cigar, whether it was out on the patio or spaced out amongst friends and families. They pointed out that there was no shortage of new cigars rolling out, and so they put up a list of cigars, the 16 best cigars you need for the fall, and I think most of these are fairly new iterations. So let me just run through these real quick, and then we'll have us some Armagnac. Maybe you want to put that boy up on Mr. Twirligig, or you can start a pouring.
I'm going to go ahead and start pouring it.
We start with, and this scored 94 points in Cigar Aficionado. It's the Cohiba Esplendido. Ooh, that was nice. The Cohiba Esplanadido is a Cuban cigar, and it earned the number 1 spot the number 11 spot in the top 25 of 2014. They smoked it again this last year and said it's one of the best sticks of the year so far. So that's from Cigar Aficionado. Of course, they get their hands on Cuban cigars. We're no longer allowed to bring them back from Cuba if we go to visit, according to new regulations that the president put in place recently. So, yeah, kind of a bummer with that, but we will soldier on. Also on the list, coming in with a score of 93 from Nicaragua, the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series Imperial Maduro, which again, hard to argue with.
You
that
almost
cigar.
got one of those.
Yeah, but I am in no way disappointed with your selection here, sir. This is going to be fantastic.
We went straight top shelf.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The Joya de Nicaragua Antaño Connecticut Robusto, also a Nicaraguan cigar, scored 93 points in Cigar Aficionado.
That Antaño line is good.
Yeah, this one is covered with a light Connecticut seed wrapper from Ecuador. It's a milder blend in their Antaño blend, which is kind of a spicier blend overall. This particular one is a little milder. Rocky Patel, number 6, Corona. This thing keeps popping up today, doesn't it? Yeah, yep. They are giving it 93 points. They say although Rocky also produces cigars in Nicaragua, this one made in Honduras with mostly Honduran tobacco is named after its test blend, and it performed outstanding.
I feel like this is going to be iconic in the Rocky line, much like the 1992 is.
He always
the 1990. I feel like those are going to be.
And what is the one I love? Is it the 55?
Yeah, the 55.
I love the 55. That's such a wonderful cigar.
Great.
The Casa Torrent Series 1973 Torpedo from Mexico scored 93 points. It uses the very complex San Andres tobacco from farms in the San Andres Valley of Mexico. The Cohiba Lancero, also from Cuba, scored 93 points in the tasting, and they recommend it here. The Viva La Vida Jester is a cigar that made their list.
I don't know that one.
It's got a looks like a guy from a New Orleans parade on the band, the Jester look. It is dark and powerful, cloaked in a Nicaraguan wrapper, and it is a Nicaraguan Puro Robusto by AJ Fernandez. Yep. So I haven't had this. I've got to get my hands on a Viva La Vida immediately, being the AJ fanboy that I am. Herrera Esteli Brazilian Maduro Lonsdale from Nicaragua comes in at 92 points and makes the list, as does the La Aroma de Cuba Edición Especial, number 2 from Nicaragua. I had the La Aroma de Cuba Mi Amor, that was what I talked about last week, and I sure did enjoy that one. I'm trying to remember now if I've had the edition Especial number 2. If I haven't, I will. I notice you're sampling the Armagnac.
I'm pairing.
You're pairing. Are you pairing the Armagnac with a sour?
Try it.
Okay, well, I haven't even tried the Armagnac, so
you want to take a second, or you want to go cigars for a minute?
Let's take a second, and why don't you take that bottle and tell us what we're dealing with? I know most of the bottle's in French, but there is a little English on the back there, I think. Unless your French is really up to par.
I was going to read it in French, but it is actually all in English.
So read it in English with an Inspector
Chateau
Clouseau
De
French
La
accent. Oh, Quito, I love the Armagnac. That didn't even sound like Clouseau. That sounded like a. I don't know what that sounded
Why
like.
is the Pink Panther such a funny movie?
I don't know, but it's so
hilarious.
good. It's so good.
Chateau De La Lacroix, the oldest family-owned estate producing Armagnac, has been distilling handcrafted Armagnac since 1711.
That's a long time.
That's a little bit of family history,
yeah.
right? From vines planted on an exceptional soil of light, tawny marine sand with clay and shell sediments. That's getting into your terroir.
Yeah, no kidding.
that's digging in right there.
Well,
I've
if you're
never
into it.
thought to myself, this beer, the maltinous beer, was grown in a light, airy soil consisting of.
Yeah.
Anyway,
shell fragments. Yeah.
That's pretty brilliant. Considered in France as one of the top producers of Armagnac, the estate continues in its tradition of excellence by overseeing every step of production, only bottling what comes from its own vineyards, distillery, and aging cellars. Chateau De La Lacroix. Armagnacs, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way. Armagnacs are exclusively aged in French oak barrels of 110 gallons and are free of any additives such as color or wooded caramel. They are prized for their balance, elegance, complexity, expressive aromas of candied nuts, oak, spice, vanilla, dried figs, chocolate, and long, creamy finish. The present owner, Giles de Boissaison?
I'm going to take your word for it.
Close enough. Is the 10th generation to run the Chateau De La Lacroix. We need that guy on the show.
Yes, so I
just
can
to
pronounce
help
his
us
name
pronounce this
correctly.
because-
Yes. Well, what's your
forgive my ignorance, but I literally have no idea how to pronounce some of those. So if I offended anybody, I'm super sorry. But
I do trust your palate, though. What do you think of the Armagnac?
so I love the list that they have on there. Let me just reiterate the list that they say on here is candied nuts, oak, spices, vanilla, dried figs, chocolate, and long creamy finish.
I do get pretty much all of that. Not to
So
just
the
be
first thing
unoriginal
that
and
jumps
say,
out to me, like on the nose, is the fig and the chocolate. Mm-hmm. Like those things just marry right off the bat, right on the nose.
it's such a different, Armagnac. It's such a different spirit experience than a whiskey or a rum.
Take a tiny sip, and before you swallow, let it sit in your mouth and just take a nice long inhale. Chocolate for days. Mm-hmm. And then
That is where the chocolate shows up.
yeah, and then when you swallow after you do that, like chocolate just kind of goes poof
Yes,
across your
you
whole
get
palate.
you get chocolate in a way that you don't get if you just sip and swallow.
And it's not a milk chocolate; it's a rich, creamy chocolate, but it's not like a milk chocolate like you think.
it's almost like a creamy fudge.
But there's that fig, that darkness in there too. That shows up. So it's like it has a lot of bright flavors, but then that darkness shows up. There's that nutty flavor, is almost like the pecan shell
Yeah. Well, they said
or
didn't
walnut
they say candied
shell.
candied
Said
nuts?
candied
Yeah,
nuts. I
it's
get
kinda-
a little bit of that, but I get
Yeah.
also that astringency from the shell or the oak. The astringency really makes it taste a little more like the shell. This is a complex and interesting drink.
I wish we had our buddy Chris Hart on to try this because I know he's
he loves the
pretty
Armagnac.
knowledgeable on the Armagnac.
Well, you know,
front.
I spit a proposal to him at some point in time. I sent him a text and said, "Hey, we need to do a show or an event dedicated to Armagnacs and call it the Armagnacathon."
Did he respond?
I don't think so. I don't think he dignified it with a response whatsoever. I think sometimes, like my sense of humor to him is like, I think he just sits there and blinks his eyes. And
Yeah,
goes,
well,
"No."
he is a whiskey expert after all. He's being held to certain standards, of expertise.
I don't know if my sense of humor goes above his head or below his,
Yeah.
notice.
So what's your take on this? Do you like it? And if so, how much?
I like it. I actually like this a lot. I like how interestingly different it is. I like whiskeys that are very chocolatey. As you know,
Right. I enjoy this
as
too.
you know, Whitmeyer's is one of my absolute favorites, and it's incredibly chocolatey and sweet and delicious and everything else, and almost always like 60% or something like that. It's ridiculous. But this has that chocolatiness that I really, really, really like, but it finishes so different from a whiskey or a bourbon. You know,
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good.
It's
a little grapey.
Well, and it is made from grapes. So
you kind of taste that grapey and the oaky kind of thing in it.
I like just being able to change up the spirit experience because this is a very different drinking experience than a whiskey or a rum or a tequila.
One of my more spiritual friends.
I am spiritual in that way. Yes. Maybe only in that way, but in that way I definitely am.
But now that you have that on your palate thoroughly.
Oh, you want me to go back to the south?
I want you to take a sip of this rare barrel and watch what happens to the palate once you have all this chocolate on there.
Okay, that's very interesting.
It is actually quite interesting.
All right. Fortunately, we had a big bomber, so I had some left.
Take that sip. Rhubarb.
Yes.
It just tastes like rhubarb
it changes
in the best possible way.
It changes the finish completely. I get that tart cherry now on the finish that I just absolutely love.
Oh, yeah.
To me, there are very few desserts in the world that can compete with a tart cherry pie with vanilla ice cream on top.
Yep.
This is delicious now. I like this actually better after the Armagnac than I even did before.
I don't know that I like it better, but it's interesting how it changes all those complex flavors that were in the rare barrel to a rhubarb cherry pie.
Well, hang on to your Armagnac because
it also brings out that the pie crust flavor in there.
Yes, it does. You get more of that. Maybe that's why I was picking up more on that tart cherry pie because you get a little of the crust along with the cherry.
Like a little pie crust flavor and almost like some white powdered sugar on there.
I am liking it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to finish this this cigar list. We're going to bring you drinking news, and we're also going to taste and this will be interesting after where we've gone so far here, a milk stout that was aged in bourbon barrels. It's a big part of what we're tasting on the show today, and it is called Rhino Suit. It comes to us from Alesong Brewing. It's an Imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels from Eugene, Oregon. So it'll be interesting to pair that up with some of this stuff. All right, so we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for enjoying show number 205 with us. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. It is the radio program and podcast that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on show number 205, talking about the best cigars of 2020. We'll get back to that list in a moment, but we're brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. Let me say that better. mycigarshirts.com.
Say that 3 times fast.
Easy to find on the web and very cool T-shirt designs for cigar lovers, and they start under $20, so they're not ripping you off. It's good stuff. You like your shirt, right?
You know why?
Yeah?
Because cigars.
Because cigars. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. So grab a cup while we gather round. Saddle up while we drink 'em down. I've got a story and I swear it's true. So now it's time for drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news.
Oh, the fade out. That was nice. I hadn't heard the fade out version before.
It was an analog fade out right there.
Well, I would love to tell you. That our drinking news story today starts with a Florida man, but unfortunately, I can't. I can, however, tell you that I chose this drinking news story. And drinking news, for those of you who are new to the program, is a news story that we like to share with you that may or may not be about drinking, but is in fact probably best enjoyed as a story when you are drinking. And these are at least purported to be true and gathered from news outlets across the globe. Ian, I picked this story because I know what a big deal cycling is to you. You love riding your bike. You ride mountain bikes. You ride in the MS 150 just about every year to raise money for for charity. It's a wonderful thing. It's not only good for you. I see you struggling a little bit to cut open this
I'm
ale
actually
song.
prepping it because I figured while you're talking, I'll just make sure it's ready to open.
Perfect. Well, this story is about a cyclist raising money for charity. He's raising money for Yemen relief, and he's from Chicago, Illinois. His name is Reuben Lopez. Reuben is concerned with what's going on in Yemen, wants to raise money to help support the people there. And so he decided he would go on this bike quest and ride exactly 69 miles from Washington State. Exactly 69 miles per day.
Per day. Okay, that makes more sense. I was going to say 69 miles, not that big a deal.
And a total trip of 2,500 miles.
Okay.
He says that the trip's still not over. He's planning to complete this trip in Newfoundland and Labrador. He's been planning to participate in several bike tours this year, but they were all canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So he decided to take on this particular ride as a way to raise awareness and money for Yemen Relief and Reconstruction Foundation, which provides humanitarian aid to the war-torn country. Nothing I've shared with you so far has given you any idea why I chose this story for Drinking News. But here it comes. Reuben Lopez of Chicago, Illinois, is riding in his special 2,500-mile bike ride to make a point. He's beginning the ride at Poo Poo Point in Washington State and ending at Ohio's Pee Creek.
I don't know what to say.
He's riding from Poo Poo Point to Pee Creek.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Of course he is. The only possible reason for me to share this story with you is to get to say Poo Poo Point and Pee Creek.
I'm going to tell you something. So cyclists are nuts, okay?
Yeah?
Serious cyclists are nutty, really, really nutty people. There's a whole bunch of people out there that do what they like to call Everesting.
Really?
What that is
I can only guess.
you find a cyclist, and that cyclist finds a hill, and then he will repeatedly climb up and down this hill until he has climbed the same amount of feet as the top of Mount Everest on his bicycle. That's called Everesting.
That seems
People
a little radical to me.
do that for...
By the way, I don't know if you saw the photo. That's not actually the man's bike in Pee Creek. It's just a reasonable facsimile thereof. Wanted to make sure I shared that. That's not an actual photo from the story.
Cyclists are nuts. I'm going to tell you.
Then again, back when I was a morning radio show host, I used to search the wires diligently for any news story that would allow me to say the name of the famous Lake Titicaca. Because it's just fun to say. It's kind of like Poo Poo Point and Pee Creek.
Yeah, that's...
Admittedly, I'm still in junior high school. I'm okay with that. I am totally okay with that. Open that bad boy up, Ian, while I go back to this list of cigars. We have more cigars to share from Cigar Aficionado's list of cigars that you should totally be smoking for the summer. I'm going to let you keep working on it. Thankfully, you brought the knife. They really packed this baby in there good there at Alesong.
It's like 3/16 of wax sitting on there.
It's heavily waxed. The Punch La Isla Exclusivo Cuba. It's a Cuban cigar. It scored 91 points. It's a regional edition, they say, just for Cuba. So I don't know why they put it on this list, because none of us are going to be able to get one and smoke it this fall. But, anyway, it's there. The Casa Cuba Double Tres is a Dominican cigar. It rated 91 points. When the late Carlos Fuente Sr. created this cigar in 2013, it was the first new commercial blend he'd made in decades. Old school in style, it features finesse over power, but is bold in the right places without being too showy or brash. You okay there, sir?
Owned it.
Okay, good. Good to know. The Viaje Circa 45, number 1 from Nicaragua, scored 91 points. Used to be a European exclusive, but it's now available in the States. The Fuente Opus X Fuente. That's a lot of Fuentes.
That's very many Fuentes.
It scored 91 points. It's from the Dominican Republic, perhaps the most mysterious of the industry's cult cigars. The Moowat Nightcrawler. Moowat stands for My Uzi Weighs a Ton.
I haven't had the Nightcrawler.
Yeah, and the Nightcrawler is from Nicaragua. 91 points, layered with near black San Andres wrapper from Mexico, complete with Ecuadorian Connecticut shade binder and spicy filler from Brazil. That sounds like my kind of cigar. And finally, the Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Churchill from Nicaragua, scoring at 91 points. And I've had that cigar, and it is truly wonderful. Truly wonderful.
Yes.
All right, so you have managed to get this ale.
Dude, I just want to point out, look what I had to do to the lid to get that off.
It's from Alesong. Wow, you you tore that bad boy up. It's from Alesong, but it is their Rhino Suit. Alesong Brewing and Blending is the name of the company. It's Rhino Suit Imperial Milk Stout aged in bourbon barrels. Ian, it's 12.4%. This is in your wheelhouse,
This is bitter
friend.
and angry and dark, and it's delicious.
Bitter, angry, dark, and delicious. Now, it's a milk stout. I always think of milk stouts as being a little creamier, a little less in your face.
Wait till you try it. This is
Just get a little coffee on the nose.
it's very coffee bitter.
Wow.
Yeah.
It does have some creaminess to it, though. I always expect a milk stout to be a little creamier than just like a Russian Imperial stout.
I want to point out that this right here is the exact amount of carbonation that this beer should have. Like, they nailed that.
I completely agree with you.
There's just enough.
I always find it off-putting when a darker beer like this has either too much or too little carbonation.
So I'll go with too much. If it has too little carbonation, I'm fine. It could be completely flat. If it's a good dark stout, I don't care if it's flat. If it tastes good.
This is a good dark stout. It is delicious. Wow. I'm still kind of reeling from the 12.4%, to be honest with you. That's a heady brew.
Like a song, each beer is our expression. The enjoyment and interpretation is yours. Yep, 31 IBUs. Saccharomyces.
So what's your take on it? We've had plenty of
These are
plenty of
Heaven
stouts.
Hills barrels.
Oh, Heaven Hill barrels. Wow.
Yep.
Ian, we've had plenty of stouts, milk stouts and otherwise on the show. How does this one strike you?
This is my favorite kind of stout. It's unapologetically everything that it is.
It's boozy as hell.
It's boozy. It's chocolatey. It's coffee. There is a little creaminess in there from it being the milk stout or the lactose that they put in there. But it's bitter.
Yes.
Like, it ends. I drink black coffee.
See, but the bitter is
and
a
this
chocolate
is
and
that
yeah.
chocolate black coffee
Yes.
bitter.
I was about to say the
that
bitter
is
is
good.
a black coffee and chocolate bitter.
Yeah.
Not a hop bitter. Although
Right.
it might come from the hops, but it doesn't give you that hop bitter sensation.
No, it's delicious. This is one of my favorites I think that we've had.
Wow. One of your favorite stouts that we've had. Like a song and beer is our expression. Did you read this? Mm-hmm. The enjoyment and interpretation is yours. Alesong Brewing is a pretty well-respected brewery in Eugene, Oregon. I've read a lot of great things about them as a brewery, and we've had an Alesong beer on before, but I don't think it was a stout. I think it may have been something else.
I don't remember, but I do know. I like how this is like a lot of what we have here in Houston. We have Brash Brewing, and their stouts, they're brash. This is the name of the brewing company, so that should tell you what their beers are like, and they are very unapologetic about it. And this is very much something along the lines of that, and it's my favorite kind of stout. It's just big and bold and badass.
Going from the Alesong,
It also leaves raisin on the lips.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Going from the Alesong back to the Armagnac.
Oh, interesting, because
Gives
it's so
you-
chocolatey.
Gives you a nice chocolate burst on the Armagnac. However, I don't like it nearly as much coming back from the Armagnac to the Imperial Stout.
It makes that Armagnac taste like chocolate and grape, like
So
grapey chocolate.
now go back
like
to the
white
Stout.
grapes.
I didn't like it as much going back to the Stout. I liked going Stout to Armagnac. Sorry, not
You
Almanac.
like going from the Stout to the Almanac?
Stout to the Almanac, yeah. The Farmer's Almanac, is my favorite. If you're going to have an Almanac, it might as well be the Farmer's. But going from the Armagnac back to the Stout, I didn't like as much.
Yeah, the Armagnac doesn't play as well with the Stout as the Stout does with the Armagnac.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, that's how Stout's outstanding.
It really is. So several really outstanding beers, a couple of outstanding beers here on the show today. I enjoyed the Bobtoberfest, but I thought the Rare Barrel and the Alesong were standouts, didn't you?
Bobtoberfest was a different take on the Oktoberfest than what I'm used to, I think. It's a little on the lighter side and a little hoppier, and that's fine. And when it's cold, it's quite drinkable.
Yes.
When it heated up a little bit, I didn't like as much hops as showed up, but I thought it was good.
Cold beer anyway.
Our other two beers were outstanding for doing what they do, and the Armagnac was chocolatey.
It was chocolatey and delicious.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us for show number 205. We will be rescheduling with Jared Himstedt and looking forward to having him back on the show here very soon. A lot of other good things to come. It's going to be a very interesting fall for Smoking and Toasting. We will be putting together our first ever hard seltzer blind taste test. We've got to get just the perfect guest for that, Ian. So let's start talking about that. Because neither of us are huge hard seltzer fans. I don't really mind it, but I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it's going to be one of my last choices for an alcoholic beverages. But that said, it'll be interesting to taste them. To taste them and see which ones have really
I've got
good
a friend
flavor.
of mine that's on a keto diet right now, and all he drinks is hard seltzer.
Oh, maybe he would be the guy
Maybe. If nothing else, we can make fun of him.
for being on the keto diet.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that could work. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for being a part of the show today and for joining us. Props and thanks to all of our friends out there who've been checking out the show live on Facebook. Be sure to check us out, by the way, on YouTube and on all the normal podcast platforms. And also don't forget to check out our sponsor, mycigarshirts.com. Have a wonderful week, Ian. I'm going to toast you with a little tiny bit of this Alesong I have left. That looks like you refilled.
Refilled.
Yeah.
I fixed it.
I've got a problem with my
My
cup.
beer was broken. I made it right.
Cheers. Y'all.
Cheers, y'all.